Connective tissue, take 3. This is part 2. Volume didn't work so well last time, so we're going to try it again. So again, there are 3 major components of connective tissue that are outside the cell. It's called extracellular material. So outside the cell, extracellular. This is pretty much how it's classified. First major component is protein fibers, and there's 3 types of protein fibers. There's collagen fibers, which are strong and rope-like, and make up tendons. There's reticular fibers. They're shorter. They help fill out the connective tissue that holds your skin to your muscles. And there's elastic fibers, and they are just like it says, elastic. They're coiled like springs, so your ears and nose can bounce back. Second main type of extracellular matrix, stuff outside the cells, is called ground substance. It's basically amorphous or shapeless. They're synonyms for each other. And it's just a material outside that's jelly-like and fills up the area. And the third type is fluid. You have a lot of fluid between the blood, very little, if any, in bones. So blood has a lot of fluid between the cells. Types of connective tissue, again, blast, build, remember, osteoblast, build bone, and osteocytes maintain. So once the osteoblast has built bone around it, it becomes an osteocyte. It's locked inside its lacuna. That's its little home there, the little black dots in the picture below. And the canalicula, those little cracks, is where the blood can feed it. Yes, osteocytes maintain. Macrophage, big eater, macro, big. We talked about this in the previous one. So there's a big macrophage, huge white blood cell eating some foreign particle. Mast cells are a type of blood cell which release histamines for inflammation. And when you get inflammation, it's actually a good thing because it allows more blood cells to come in and fight the infection or bring healing. So you don't always want to ice something after you hurt it. Let the inflammation take place. Let it help the healing process. Functions of connective tissues. Movements of the joints. Storage. Adipose stores energy, it's fat. Bones for minerals. Transport. Blood does transport nutrients all across the body and oxygen. By cellular matrix, the stuff outside, the proteins, the ground substance, and the fluid. So, protein fibers, if it's densely packed, it's called dense connective tissue. And that has widely separated collagen and elastic fibers. So pull your skin, twist it around, goes right back. Adipose is fat. Okay, that's a connective tissue, and the proper term for fat is adipose. You look at the adipose fat cells down here, they have their tiny little nuclei pushed off the edge because they're full of fat. The cell is just full of lipids. Wow. All right, cartilage. Again, chondro means cartilage. Sites mean cell, so chondrocytes are cartilage cells. There's three types. There's hyaline cartilage, it's the most abundant. It lines into your bones, and it looks really cool. Elastic cartilage is very flexible, as it says there, nose and ears. They're flexible. They bend, flip right back. So hyaline cartilage, it lines into your bones and protects them, kind of like Teflon. And over the years of, like gymnasts have huge problems with osteoarthritis, but over the years of heavy pounding, sprinting, jumping, basketball, volleyball, your body takes a beating. Dance and gymnastics really takes a beating. Those people, by the time they're 40 years old, start having really sore knees because that cartilage is wearing away at the end of the bones. Under the microscope, you see these little googly eyes with a pretty much clear purple background. They almost look like they're looking at you. See that little guy right there? Ooh, this guy's got some goofy teeth. He's looking sideways. Okay, fibrocartilage looks like that. It's got the nice fibers in it. And again, the little chondrocytes there look like eyeballs next to each other. And it has a lot of collagen. It's strong. It's between the discs, so you can bend and stretch and turn and twist without throwing your back out every time. Elastic cartilage, as it says, elastic. Contains elastic fibers. It's very flexible. And it looks like this under the scope. Really trendy. Bone. Love the bone. It's so easy to see. This bone over here has the cancellous bone or sponge bone. Inside has the compact bone on the outside. Now, this compact bone, you zoom in on it under a microscope, you get this over here. This middle is where blood vessels go. These little cracks come out here, and they feed every little black dot is a lacuna where the cells, the osteocytes, live. So this is very easy to see under a microscope, very easy to recognize on the test as well. Blood. Yes, it has a lot of fluid, plasma matrix. Here's some red blood cells. Here's red blood cells in the scope, just like you're going to see in lab, which you've probably already seen in lab if you're waiting on looking at these notes. The big purple ones are white blood cells called neutrophils because they have this funky looking little nuclei, multinucleate nuclei, and they're purple. And little tiny thrombocytes or platelets. So, pretty easy to recognize. Wow. So the story gets very apparent. She proceeds to tell the dude at the wig and nose piercing that all the tissue layers is going through in order. So the first layer would be your stratified squamous epithelium. Looks like that under the microscope. Stratified squamous epithelium. Boom. Underneath that, you've got connective tissue and blood. So loose connective tissue and blood, they're kind of tied for second place because they feed. The blood has to feed things. Underneath that, you have that tissue, which is so flexible but strong. What's it called? Yes, cartilage. Underneath the elastic cartilage, you've gone through it. Now you're coming back out the same way you went in. You got the areolar, loose connective tissue with your blood, and finally, epithelial. Could be a test question. Who knows? So muscle tissue has the ability to contract. The two main proteins. There's a bunch of proteins, but the two main ones are actin and myosin. Know these. Hey, look, they're in big, bold, and red. You got to know them. So the myosin has little heads, which will grab onto the actin fibers here, and they'll pull the actin fibers inwards. So these little Z bands on the end, these other proteins, will contract. And when they do that, here's what it looks like in the microscope. Every one of these striations, these stripes, is like the Z bands. So the actin and myosin between those, and every little tiny shortening there, and these thousands of sarcomeres, or contractile units in this muscle fiber, contract, and that whole muscle fiber shortens. When you do that, on a long muscle fiber, it can pull a bone upwards. Like when you flex your bicep, it pulls your forearm up to your head. It's amazing. So this muscle type, they're all parallel. It's got many nuclei per cell, and the nuclei are off on the sides, and it's very striated. So this one's easy to tell. What we call skeletal muscle because it moves your skull. It's attached to skeletal bones mainly. It's under voluntary control. You choose, make it move. Your cell is striated, bound to the myosin fibers, the sarcomeres. Smooth muscle is just that. It's smooth. It's not striated. Got big nuclei inside there, spindle-shaped. Pretty easy to tell once you realize it links the walls of hollow organs, skin and eyes, so your esophagus, your intestines, all that smooth muscle. You don't think about closing your eyes. You don't think about digesting once you swallow. It's all involuntary. That means you don't think about it. Single nuclei per cell, and it's not striated. All right, the cardiac muscle is just that. It's heart muscle. It's special. It is both striated. You can see little stripes in there, but it's also involuntary. You don't have to think about making your heart beat. Now, it's branched, so they all connect, so they all beat at the same time. Skeletal muscle, you can recruit a few muscles or a bunch of muscles at once. Cardiac muscle, you recruit them all at the same time because you're pumping that blood through. It's all or nothing. And they have these things called intercalated discs, these little blue bands over here. Over here you can see them as little darker bands. Intercalated means so they're kind of shuffled throughout. They're not super easy to see in the actual slides, so I don't worry too much about that, but in college you will. Another type of tissue, our fourth type of tissue, is called nervous tissue. It's not connective, it's not muscle, and it's not epithelial. It's nervous. That's your brain, your spinal cord, and all your nerves. So it communicates by electrical signals. Those electrical signals are when the sodium-potassium channels open up in cells, and you get a flux of sodium and potassium running in and out of the membrane, and they call that action potential. So if you've had psychology or bio, you've heard of action potential. So it's for coordination and control of the body activities. The cell, the neuron cell itself, has this big body, which contains the nucleus. It has axons and dendrites. So the axon is this long cord-like part of the cell, and it's insulated with a myelin sheath, which is kind of like the rubber around your electrical cords. So when you plug something in, you're not shocking yourself. The rubber keeps the electrons on the copper all the way from the outlet to the device, so they don't short out. If this myelin sheath should get nicked or cut, get little cuts we call sclera, that kind of gives away what happens, right? Multiple sclera, many cuts, you get this thing called multiple sclerosis. And that's just that. The brain sends a message to move. You get these electrons sneaking out down here. The message doesn't get sent all the way down, so these little ends do not innervate the muscle fibers. So you walk jumpy and choppy. Sometimes the muscle moves, sometimes it doesn't. All right, we're going to do that in class. I haven't set your tissue labs up yet. And you're going to watch this for part 3. Thus ends part 2. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope it worked.